waters are fast-moving.
Unlike other big rallies,
Welcome to #PH Vote 2013.
Today on Rappler, overseas Filipino workers help typhoon relief efforts through remittances. Pacquiao to BIR on frozen assets. It's earned money, not DAP or PDAF. And the NBI questions budget department officials over fake special allotment release orders. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Tacloban begins rebuilding after Haiyan, Typhoon Yolanda to Filipinos, left a trail of destruction in its wake. The city has big plans for the aid it receives to create a master rehabilitation program. Bea Cupin reports.
Our window is closing. I tell you, another 3 to 5 days, once the media pulls out, there's a next disaster somewhere out there.
More than 2 weeks after Typhoon Yolanda, international name Haiyan destroyed most of Tacloban City, aid continues to pour in. But Tacloban Vice Mayor Jerry Yaucasin says interest in Tacloban and other areas devastated by Haiyan will eventually wane.
So that has to now the time for the legislative to do its share. And we're looking at a master rehabilitation program for Tacloban. Para hindi masayang yung pera, hindi masayang yung tulong galing sa international community.
Yaucasin says it is local government's priority. The master plan should be done by year's end. In the city Astrodome, the tents bend when the wind is strong. Evacuees get soaked when it rains.
Mahirap kami dito kay pag humahangin, talagang tumutuklap yun. Minsan, yung tent namin. Gusto namin humingi ng yung kapal ba? Yung mga lona para gagano namin. Hindi kami naiipon ba? Yung iba kong mga pamilya nandun sa yung asawa ng matay ba?
Lucy says she is not leaving until the city government gives them a better, safer place to live in.
Saan kami titira? Ano naman ibibili namin? Wala naman kami pera. Yun lang ang hinihingi namin. Maanohan kami ng pambahay namin.
The city council intends to pass laws to improve the city's zoning scheme. The plan involves clearing coastal areas of residents, both legal and informal. It will also mean revising the city's comprehensive land use policy and the city's budget for 2014.
Already, we have mapped out the city now. Then we know which should be the residential part, commercial, industrial. It seems like, unlike other countries, when yung coastal area talaga, they try to preserve it as much. Walang makikita mong dumi. There's no house that you will be able to see because they try to protect the environment. Yeah. So maganda. Definitely, all through the years, parami. And the informal settlers, doon sila. Yeah. So I think it's about time that we set it up well.
Lucy says she does not mind moving upland.
Pero magtatayo din kami na sa taas ba? Na hindi abutin ng tubig.
Ayaw niyo na po bumalik?
Ayaw ko na talaga dito. Mahirap.
Bakit?
Tatakot kami sa tubig. Hindi naman ako marunong lumangoy. Naku, kung naabutan nga ako doon.
The local government vows to make the most of the aid that's pouring in.
And not commit the same mistakes again. Enough na para sa isang generation.
Yaucasin says it'll be a test for local government. After facing criticism over slow disaster response and a political tug-of-war with national government, can the LGU, brought down to its knees just weeks ago, get its act together? Bea Cupin, Rappler, Tacloban.
The Senate approves the 2.2648 trillion peso national budget for 2014 with 100 billion pesos allocated for the Calamity and Rehabilitation Fund. This is lower than the amount the House of Representatives approved in October with the 3.2 billion peso Priority Development Assistance Fund or PDAF of those who chose to forgo the funds stricken off. This is the first budget the Senate approved in decades that excludes the PDAF. Last week, the Supreme Court struck down the PDAF as unconstitutional following the pork barrel scam. But Escudero says senators agreed in caucus to, quote, respect the decision of the House and other senators who chose to realign the PDAF to line agencies. Escudero and Senate President Frank Drilon say the Senate reviewed the budget to ensure no provisions violated the court ruling, barring the involvement of lawmakers in projects after the passage of the budget. The Senate and the House will now reconcile their versions of the budget bill in the bicameral conference committee. In the Senate version of the budget, the chamber also allots 100 billion pesos for disaster rehabilitation. In the aftermath of the storm, overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, are once again the lifeline of their families affected by the typhoon through the remittances they send home. With relief workers overwhelmed by the magnitude of the disaster, Filipinos abroad are coming to the rescue. Economist Patrick Ellis says remittances jumped an average of 13% to 14% over the 9 months that followed the Philippines' previous 10 deadliest typhoons. A 14% increase over 3 quarters equates to about $2.3 billion or 100.69 billion pesos based on last year's remittances. But Elias says the massive destruction from the super typhoon and the problems in delivery of relief goods could mean more money, more remittances. Around 10 million Filipinos work overseas, and their remittances help prop up the Philippine economy. Last year, OFWs sent home $21.39 billion or 936.45 billion pesos, equivalent to nearly 10% of the Philippines' gross domestic product. Philippine Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario says the importance of foreign aid in the aftermath of the typhoon shows the need to allow increased rotational presence of American troops in the Philippines. Aside from $22.5 million in financial support, the United States sent troops and aircraft to deliver food and water to typhoon-ravaged areas. Allowing increased troop visits to improve humanitarian assistance and faster disaster response is part of the framework agreement that the Philippines and the United States are working out. The proposed deal allows more U.S. troops, aircraft, and ships in the Philippines. It's also seen as a counterweight to Chinese moves in the South China Sea. Despite months of talks, the two governments deadlock. But Senate Minority Leader Juan Ponce Enrile says the typhoon can't be used to justify increased rotational presence of American troops. Enrile adds, "We do not always have that kind of a problem. Otherwise, the anticipation of such a disaster or any contingency will be a justification for the presence of other troops in the country." The former defense minister says many aspects of the proposal must be scrutinized. Fresh from his victory against Brandon Rios, Manny Pacquiao now faces a different opponent, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, or BIR. The Court of Tax Appeals issues a freeze order on Pacquiao's assets and bank accounts in connection with a 2.2 billion peso tax evasion case. Pacquiao calls the accusations baseless. He says, quote, "The BIR claims I earned more than what I actually did without any evidence to back it up. They ignored information given by Top Rank and HBO and insisted I earned more." Pacquiao arrived in the Philippines Tuesday after his successful comeback fight in Macau. He says the freeze orders preventing him from helping Haiyan survivors. Pacquiao compares his situation with the current probe into public funds like the Priority Development Assistance Fund, or PDAF, and the Disbursement Acceleration Program, or DAP. He says in Filipino, "I cannot withdraw even 1 cent of my own money. I can't even use it to help. My money that was garnished by the BIR was not stolen. It's not PDAF or DAP. It came from all the punches, sweat, and blood that I endured in boxing." The National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, is probing the alleged release of fake Special Allotment Release Orders, or SARO, to mayors for 879 million pesos worth of farm-to-market roads in Region 2. Justice Secretary Laila de Lima says the NBI is looking at the possibility of an inside job at the Department of Management, or DBM. She adds it's, quote, "hard to believe that no one from DBM is involved because of similarities in the fake and original SAROs." A Philippine Daily Inquirer report reveals an ongoing probe into the fake SARO case in the middle of a supposed news blackout imposed by Budget Secretary Florencio Abad. In the report, Agriculture Secretary Prospero Alcala confirmed his department asked DBM to cancel the SARO. De Lima says the Agriculture Department was alerted of the fake SARO after the staff of a congressman from Region 2 presented the document to a regional field unit. De Lima says the SARO is dated October 10, 2013, but was discovered on October 18th, just 4 months after the multi-billion peso pork barrel scam was exposed. NBI is also investigating reports of fake SAROs in the regions of Calabar Zone, Western Visayas, and Soc-Sargen. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani's cabinet marks its 100th day Monday, riding on the success of a diplomatic push that clinched a landmark nuclear deal between Iran and world powers. Under the deal, Iran agreed to temporarily freeze its nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. The deal is a major achievement for Rouhani, who won a first-round electoral victory this year by promising a more diplomatic approach to the West. Israel criticized the deal, calling it, quote, a historic mistake. But on Monday, U.S. President Barack Obama defends the agreement and says diplomacy would continue over the coming months to settle once and for all the threat of Iran's nuclear program. He adds, huge challenges remain, but we cannot close the door on diplomacy, and we cannot rule out peaceful solutions to the world's problems. The United Nations urges fast action to stop conflict in Central African Republic, which a top official warns is falling into, in his words, complete chaos. Deputy Secretary General Jan Eliasson tells the UN Security Council the African nation's population now faces, quote, a desperate security situation. The Security Council discusses methods to back an African military force trying to restore order in the country where rebels overthrew President Francois Bozize in March. Since then, the transitional government lost control, with rival Christian and Muslim groups fighting each other. Some UN officials and key governments warn of a possible genocide. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 8, U.S. investigators say they failed to find a motive for the 2012 Newtown school massacre, but added the killer had significant mental problems. The official report into the December 14 killings at Sandy Hook Elementary School revealed Adam Lanza's disturbing behavioral problems. The 20-year-old was obsessed with mass murders and lived as a recluse. The report says evidence showed he planned his actions, but there is, quote, no clear indication why he did so. Lanza first killed his mother before gunning down 20 first-grade students and 6 adults in the elementary school. He then shot himself. Sandy Hook killings renewed emotional debate about gun control in America that resulted in little reform. At number 9, Apple buys 3D motion sensor company PrimeSense, the same company that helped make Microsoft's motion control system Kinect. PrimeSense specializes in sensor technology that allows users to interact with mobile devices using their bodies. The deal, which went for a reported $360 million, stirs speculations about what the U.S. tech giant is planning next. Although the company won't say what its plans are, some analysts say the motion sensor technology could be used for the long-rumored Apple TV set. And at number 10, archaeologists uncover a Buddhist shrine in Nepal that could provide clues to the birth of Buddha. The remains of the shrine were found under a temple built in the 3rd century BC at Lumbini, said to be Buddha's birthplace. CNN reports there's evidence to suggest a tree grew at the center of the structure, supporting the traditional story that the Buddha's mother held onto a tree branch while giving birth. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Have you ever felt boxed in because you're a woman? Female trailblazers from different fields discuss the results of a survey on women at #WhipIt, a forum on gender bias hosted by Rappler and Pantene. The survey was done in the National Capital Region, or NCR, with the assumption that more progressive views and ways of life happen in urban areas in our capital and the surrounding areas. The survey shows a more liberated view of women that's not quite reflected in reality, revealing certain biases that still exist today. Some key highlights from the survey. 54% of women believe women who work tend to be pushy. 65% believe it's more important for men to finish a university education. 71% of men and women believe when jobs are scarce, men deserve employment more than women. 70% of men think women need to downplay their personality to be accepted, and there's an almost 50-50 split when it comes to choosing family over career. Join the continuing discussion on Rappler on what else can be done to empower Filipino women. Tweet with #WhipIt. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page that crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have affected our readers and viewers the most emotionally. It is a very red day today in the 10 stories that are there. Some on Pacquiao's tax case, the top story of the day. Pacquiao's bank accounts ordered frozen. 56% angry, 27% annoyed. Pacquiao's response, it's earned money, not DAP or PDAF. 88% angry, 5% sad. And just last night, on the budget, Estrada Tan Part 2, DAP funds used to buy COA car. You have 63% angry. The story that's gotten the most number of votes is on relief aid and the way Tacloban and the relief efforts have gone. The politics of compassion, a thought leader's piece. 73% angry, 7% sad. That angry. You see the red of the day today. Most people are angry. That is Rappler's Newscast for today, Tuesday, November 26, 2013. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.